Hi everyone, and welcome to the Rapid Growth Monthly Vibes for October. Woo! So I'm excited. October is all about rebooting, restarting. Whether you can see it or not, it's happening. The vibes are supporting it, and there's so much going on behind the scenes. We're looking at a reboot of financial systems, the government systems, and you even might start to feel yourself getting swooped up in this vibe because you might start to think, I'm reconsidering my abundance. I'm reconsidering how I'm investing. I'm reconsidering what I've perceived as being important in the past, but thinking, was it really that important? By looking at how the world is changing, you'll find that your values and beliefs are starting to change with that. Of course, in your own right, but you'll start to feel, I need to make better decisions. I need to make better moves. It's almost like playing chess. We're playing chess now with as we would call it, like a collective consciousness that's pretty much very much invested in themselves. But we are now, of course, invested in ourselves, our survival, but also for a greater good. So you might feel that you're starting to play a little bit of chess, watching, if I do this, what happens? How is the new structure, the new systems that's coming into place going to react to that? How am I going to react to that? Does this bode well for me? Does this sit well for me? And I found that the biggest question that I'm asking is, how does that bode for my future? How does that sit for the security of what I'm trying to create? And so I'm noticing myself making so many different decisions that I normally probably would have made last year. It's so different. So observe yourself a little bit in terms of how you find yourself just intuitively, very accurately moving your way through this, because October is a massive reboot. And we are rebooting because we're getting ready to make quite big shifts for big changes that's going to come next month. We know in November we're going to have the elections. Regardless of where you are in the world, we know the shenanigan ripple effect that it's going to have globally. It's not just about the USA. This is about the world and how it's going to affect all of us. So you'll start to feel yourself intuitively kind of preparing for what could come. And the good news here is what I want to tell you. Feel comfortable with the decisions that you make, because your intuition is a lot more in tune with what you are creating, with the decisions that you're making here. So forget about what's going to happen next month. Stay in the here and now and focus on what it is that you want for your future. That is very, very important here. Because despite just that, what you're also going to be looking at is, you're going to be looking a little bit deeper into the past and also checking in with what is your deeper truth. What is it that your inner authority says about your main structures in your life? About your relationship also with outer authority, meaning your relationship with, say, your job, your career, people that are perhaps, above you, that's making decisions that influences you as well. You're going to be looking at, how do I fit into this? How do I find balance with these aspects that you don't have control over? But I think what this vibe is kind of going to show us is how to play the game smarter. Because instead of feeling suppressed, instead of feeling dismissed, instead of feeling passive and, like a bit of like a victim, I'm inviting you to flip things around. Flip it around and decide, okay, I'm here by choice. This is my situation right now. And even though I choose to be here, I also choose to be my own authority at the same time. But between these two aspects, find that balance between the two of them so that they don't come into conflict, but rather look at, how can I make them coexist? And I think the best way to deal with that, what normally works for me, is if I give my inner authority and someone else's authority. It's like a dance, it's tango, right? You kind of have to be flexible with each other and move together. And it's about finding, here's my move going to be. Okay, so now I'm going to let you make a move. Now I'm going to make a move. Now I'm going to let you make a move. It's a bit playing a little bit with that concept and see, how well does that sit with you? How well does that help you to manage circumstances that you cannot control? Because just because now you can't control it, don't go and fight against it, because it's just going to make your life harder. It's going to make things a lot more challenging than what they really need to be. Now it's about just being smarter. Also this month, what you'll find, and what I've also find, is that you'll find that you're still clearing out some consequences after a big 30-year cycle that also started to end back in January. But it's kind of like this cycle now, this vibe is also showing you where you've given your power away, especially in relationships, especially with finances. So this month there's going to be a big focus on your close relationships as well as your income, meaning your security. You might find that these two are clashing, or you might find that, wow, they're fighting in harmony. So see where there's a crisis, see where there is perhaps conflict, but evaluate this also from a very careful perspective. Is there really a crisis, or do you need there to be a crisis because that's when you act best? Be very mindful of that, especially in October. October is a practical month. It's a bit of a serious month. It needs you to be grounded, because if you're going to get lost in drama, you're going to find yourself very isolated, because you'll find a lot of people around you are kind of like dipping into this serious vibe, because this is now time to reevaluate, to reassess where we are at with things. Now, also keep in mind that with the economy the way that it is, that this crisis actually also opens up new career doors and also wealth opportunities. So keep that also in mind, because you might just see, things look a little bit serious, it's a little bit too much, what's going on. There's actually a lot going on. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. Everything that basically right now that is happening will be revealed more so in January 2021. So be patient, it's coming. Also, what you might find yourself here during this month is reviewing, for example, now what has ended? What is being taken out of your life, especially in the last year and a half, not just when the corona started, but go a little bit beyond that, before that. And see also almost like accumulation of what has been completed that now also, that you perhaps started to feel more awareness of, especially in March. I feel more so March. I wanted to say April, but I feel more so March, because it's almost like whatever it is that was happening apart from the corona, there was already something unrelated building up. Right? Completely unrelated to this wave of the pandemic that we've had. And what it could have started to illuminate for you is especially issues around what I would call soul wounds, around your identity, and also freedom and vulnerability, perhaps a need to rebel. Some kind of aspect in your life that has been unresolved. And then the pandemic came and it kind of just overshadowed that. You might find that coming back a little bit where you're like, oh, I thought I've dealt with this, but no, you probably didn't, because you got sidetracked. We all got blindsided. It's literally like whatever it is that was happening in our life that was problematic just completely stopped, dead in its tracks. So you might find yourself going a little bit back into that, and that is okay. Just do the work, do the healing work, get it over and done with, because it was going to come back at some point. Okay, life works in cycles, and that cycle was going to come back. Now, this month, what you might also find is a little bit of conflict between your individual and also independent sense of leadership. Right now, especially with government restrictions, the crises, and also the frustration between your personal goals as well as then being combined with the collective goals that we all also need. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, that's great. I'm tired of always having to do everything for the greater good, but what about me? Where does that leave me? A lot of us are starting to feel like that. Where does that leave us within this messy situation, basically? Structured, organized mess. Everything will actually clear up, guys. It will. But it feels like an organized mess right now. Let's be honest. I feel it too. I'm not going to lie to you. So Here it still calls for just a little bit of compromise, a little bit of acceptance, especially to help us to move through the stress of this transformation, because the crisis actually is in fact a huge transformation. But transformation doesn't always happen overnight, and that is why this is so damn painful. This is why we're really feeling it, because it's kind of like that we just want that band-aid to be ripped off and we want to be done with it. So it's kind of like slowly pulling that band-aid off, because it's a lot of people out on board. It's not just one person. And that's why we're feeling it so much as well. Now, also here, what's really interesting about the month, probably more so closer to the end of it, you might find like almost a personal soul lesson that's going to come forward for you, and it's going to beautifully actually align you with the transformation that is also happening collectively. Meaning, you're going to have your own personal transformation, but you're going to be in alignment with where the whole world is moving to, which is good. This is positive, guys. This is actually a very wonderful healing month as well, as serious as it is. And yes, sometimes we need to be a little bit serious to really get down into the basics and not, joke off about things and take things too lightly, because then we also overlook very important aspects of that. Health also this month. Let's just tap a little bit on health. There could also be some issues, for example, so do take care. And that could also be because maybe a little bit of the seriousness that comes in, it can make you feel maybe a little bit out of alignment with that fun part of you that's like, where's my stimulation? Okay, so be mindful of that. Keep a routine of your exercises, listen to your intuition, meditate, and do try to go with the flow. Okay, so despite the fact that things might feel a little bit stiff, a little bit rigid, you can kind of see yourself as the river. If you look at a river, it's always flowing. It's just kind of like, if there's a rock, I'll just flow around it or against it and find my way back to where the rest of the other water molecules are flowing to. So try to see yourself a little bit like that. Okay, so be super flexible. And, turning inwards, rethinking, especially when you want to make decisions, could perhaps also really help you quite a lot. And it will also help you to understand your suppressed emotions, especially when it comes to this halt that you might feel. It's kind of like, yeah, things are happening, but you might feel in your internal world, there's a stop. And that stop that you might feel is okay. Don't panic. You're only feeling that almost like a stalemate. And you only feel that because of the lack of maybe engagement, the lack of playfulness that is now there of other people who are also a little bit more serious. And that's all right, guys. So just breathe through the staleness. It will go away. We will shake it off. And also, if you are in, relationships, there might be some intimacy issues just because of the seriousness. It's not that there's something wrong with your relationship. So take a deep breath. Everything is going to be okay. This too shall pass. It's just a phase, guys. It's just a vibe. It's not here to stay. So thank you for joining me for this month, and join me for the following upcoming week, actually. That's also from the 5th to the 11th of October. Be the light that you are. Hi guys, thank you for joining me, and remember to grab your copy of Metaphysical Anatomy on Amazon, 679 medical ailments. And I also wrote about the psychosomatic root causes of that, and I'm spoiling you because I even added key points for you to start looking at important questions that you can ask yourself to start improving your quality of life. And also remember to catch me on Instagram, Evette Rose, 1 with the digit 1, and Metaphysical Anatomy on our Facebook fan page. Bye guys!